Yep. So guys, we are starting the project, and I just give you a theme of a project, what sort of project it is right now, and what we are going to prepare it on the project, right? Just a minute, guys. Just a minute. So I just open this marker. Just a minute. I just open the marker. Then so I just do stop sharing. Just a minute. I just start my marker things. So here we are now. We are first going to talk about, guys, that is about the project. So how this project is going to be start and what sort of things we are going to cover in this project, right? So it is actually very important things because we are starting with zero place, and then we are slowly move to some more advancement things. So it means the things, I mean, we are not going to learn some new principles here. We are whatever we have learned, we are actually collaborating everything to build it. So the action item is, it means what sort of project it is. It is primarily for, it's like a note taking app, or you can think about it's a task manager kind of app, right? So if you heard about, if you're using some Evernote kind of thing, or in Apple there is something called Notes. So it means it is primarily like this. It means you are actually login with your notes. For example, if I just log in, first of all, so first screen is we are going to start with login. Once you get login, so it would be get verified from the database. So we'll see how we already done this kind of stuff, and the registration. That's the first step in this. So login, registration, and after login registration, there would be a dashboard. So that's an important thing we are going to cover. That is a dashboard, how to build a dashboard. And this dashboard is only and only open when you are doing the successful login. That is the condition. It means if you have the URL and you are trying to hit a dashboard directly without login, so it would not allow you. So it means it would be a secure. Make sense? So that's the dashboard thing. Now the point is, in the dashboard you have the plenty of links which is keep coming, right? So it has it actually showing the plenty of links. So if you click on this link, it would be get showing the details. So for example, we have the plenty of links like add a note. So we can add a note. We can list a note. So we can even see the list of this note. So if I click on this ads, there would be ad screen will become. So dynamically this ad screen will become. And when I click on the list, so that list screen will become. So if I click on the list, so it is actually showing a table, and it has the list of notes. So it means it has the list of notes. So I am able to read a note, and I have even an option of delete a note. So it means there would be some dustbin sign. So if I click on this, so that note would be get deleted. I have the edit sign. So if I click on this edit, so it will be get open in a new screen. It just show me what record you want to edit, right? So this is actually covering up the CRUD. Plus when we are doing the registration, so we are covering up the mail feature. And when we are doing this dashboard stuff, we are actually covering how to create the dynamic dashboard. So it is a dynamic dashboard we are going to cover. Plus we are going to handle the token based authentication in this. So how to do this token based authentication, and plus the whole MERN stack stuff we are going to cover up. Also, I'm talking about how to deploy this application on the server. So it means if you create your application, how you will going to deploy this application. And when we are deploying this, we are actually learning how to build the application, right? How to build. Build means it is ready for deployment. How it is ready to deployment. How we are going to use database on cloud. So how we are going to use the database on the cloud. So there are plenty of list we are going to cover up. So we have around six hours for completing this project, right? So we are actually, the point is, if you miss anything during the training, that's the right time to learn everything, because we are going to apply everything in a one place. I hope everyone understand. So that's the beauty of the project. So it means we are going to cover up everything. So it means whatever the things we are using, we are actually going to cover it. So there are some questions. Ritik is saying how we can add different types of themes into our web. So I am recommending for different theme. There is a thing called SAS, if you heard about it. So there is a theming stuff. It means you can create the themes on SAS, and then you can create it. So there is a different technology. You need to go there and then you can create the themes and then you can apply it. Because the theme is not a look and feel. Theme is what kind of fonts you want to use as a standard. It means if you have a 10-page of website, what would be the standard things, right? It means what would be your standard themes. For example, if you're going to use something, for example, fonts, or for example, a background, for those things you can create the themes and then you can apply it. But it's a separate story. So it will actually, Ritik, we are diverting to somewhere, because right now our whole sole goal is to create a full stack application, right? So theming is actually diverting us because we need to learn some different stuff, right? Right. So I will share at the end. I will share the link. So when we have the half an hour window for discussion, then you can ask it. Satish is asking how to improve page loading performance. To improve page loading performance, there are plenty of stuff, Satish. So there are so many learnings we need to keep in our mind. So I just open a blank page first of all. So first we understand how the performance of a page is get degraded. So Satish, my prime question is how your page performance is get low. That is the first question must be in your mind. It means how your page is not performing well, right? So how the page is not performing well. So I am just right now talking about in terms of the thing called React, right? I'm just talking about in terms of the term called React. React says everything is divided into what it is divided into the components. It means when you are building your application, you are actually dividing application into components. And you already know in component we are using smart and dumb, right? But the journey is huge, right? It is just you start the React, but you cannot say you actually finish up the React everything, because we have the small time frame window and we have done so many technologies in short span, right? So we can say we have flavor of everything. So we know everything. Now, if you want to go in deep, so you can, because we are actually going to provide a in-depth course in a future that is basically a longer duration. So that's you can think about it's like a game. Level 1, then there would be level 2, right? So in the level 1, according to the level 1, we have actually done the smart and the dumb components, right? Now the point is, so like Satish is saying, lots of JavaScript interpretation cause this. Maybe no. The Satish, the challenge is basically when you are creating a components, you have the smart component, you have the dumb component, right? And in the smart component, you are using a class based, and here you are using arrow function based. The problem is when the first component has change in a state, so it will actually triggering what? It is triggering the child component. It is triggering the child component. It is triggering the child. So it means if your hierarchy is much bigger and your parent components has some values change, so it will actually passing the changes to bottom. So it means that this effect is called tree shaking. I hope you understand my point. It means if you already know when there is a change in a state and there is a change in a props, the render will be called, right? When the render is called, so it is calling the child one. So child render will be called, then child render will be called, then child render will be called. So it means your entire pages get shake. That's why I'm using a tree shaking effect. So if you don't want your tree is get shaked, so you have a plenty of things. The first absolute, because right now we are, I told you we know some of the things. So based on our knowledge. So based on our knowledge, what I am answering is when you're building your application and you find out the thing, there would be some tree shaking effect. So my recommendation is go to your, for example, on a class-based component, like we are on the class-based component, right? And in a class-based component, there is a terminology called, instead of the component, there is a terminology called pure component. So my recommendation is go for the pure component. The benefit of the pure component is pretty much intelligent. What is intelligence inside it? The intelligence is, it is saying if you are on a parent component, you are on a child, right? So you have the child, right? And for example, in this parent component, there would be some props updation and there would be some state updation, might be, right? And that prop, it means it has some inside some changes. And when there is some changes, so it is passing the changes, but that change is old, right? That change is old for me. It means, for example, I have the 3 value from the parent. It is doing some calculation, but when it is passing the 3 again, right? It is passing the 3 again. The problem with the component is because it has the 3, it has this 3, so because it is passed from the parent, so it just check there is some new changes is happen from the parent. If there is some new changes, so it will call the render again. But pure component is pretty much smart. It is just checking if the old state and the new state has the same value. Old state and the new state, old state and the new props has the same value. So it would not trigger the render. So it would not trigger the render. So it means it only the changes would be happen on the parent, and the same value is passing from parent to child. So it would not get shaked. I hope Satish you understand this thing. This question is actually important for everyone. So it means if you're on a pure component, you have this feature. It means the recommendation is when you're using a component is it has some problem, that is if your tree is big enough and there is a change on a parent level, so it will shake the tree entirely. If you don't want to shake the tree entirely, you have the option of pure component. That's one thing I just tell you. There is, but the question will be arise if I am not in smart component. I am in a dumb component. Now what will happen? So if I am in a dumb component, right? So if I am in a dumb component, I will go. For example, I have this. This is the dump one, or even I can create some dumb one. Let's say this one. This is also smart one. Registration is also smart one. For example, if I have a dump component, so the variety is, so I will say d.js, and I will say const d and then props, right? And then I will say this thing. And there is a thing they have introduced in a React. They are saying if you are on a dump component, so just do import React from React. Because you cannot use pure component here, because pure component is for a class based, right? But if you're on dumb component and you have the same kind of challenge, so the recommendation is go for react.memo, right? So just go for a react.memo. So it means wrap your entire function. So wrap your entire function inside what? Inside the react.memo. So react.memo is a rescue for a pure component in a arrow, right? So it means if you are on a dumb component and you want to do this, the react.memo stuff, so this is the rescue, right? So you can do this thing. I hope you understand. So it means you have two varieties to do the you can do it by using this mechanism. I hope you understand this thing. So now there is one more thing I want to highlight. So through this way, I hope you all understand that tree shaking effect would not be happen. The tree shaking effect would not be happen. Either you use a pure component, either you use a memo. But there are plenty of other practices. But right now it is not a moment. This moment I will discuss everything, right? Because again, we need some other kind of knowledges in a React. But what we have learned based on this you have at least you have an option. If you want to, if you want your application would not be rendered again and again and again. So either go for a pure component, either go for a memo. This is one point. Now there is one more thing I want to highlight is when you're building your application, your application is having a lot of components, right? So it means you are dividing your application into different components. That is a best practice for a developer, because when you're actually dividing your application into small components, the best part is it is easy to understand. So it is easy to understand for developer point of view, easy to read. So it means it is easy to read. Right. So it means it is easy to understand, it is easy to read, plus it is easy to maintain, because you're dividing your application into small components, right? But the point is the machine would not like this thing, because machine means when you're running it on a browser, right? It means when you are actually deploy your application on AWS or some cloud, right? So when you deploy it and the client who is actually accessing this, it not required the component stuff, right? So the point number one is when you actually develop some application and you want this application would be get deployed on some server. So I actually remove these components, right? So I will just remove this component. I need a HTML there. I need a CSS there. I need a JavaScript there, right? So it means I need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript stuff. These things I needed. So what I will do, I will do this thing, that is I can ready my application for deploy it. For example, I just pick one application. Let's say I have this first React app, right? Initially we have created this one, right? So if I want this application I have, and it is having picture and it has a search bar, search list. So I just kickstart this application, cd first React app, and from here I will say npm start. It is giving some error. I just tell you why it is giving this thing, right? So this thing is giving this error because if you just walk through with my project, I deleted node modules, right, just to save the memory in my hard disk. So that's why I just remove it. So I just need to do npm install. So it will install first node modules in my machine. Rashmi is asking, okay, Rashmi is I think asking from Satish. So Satish, whatever the code you are actually creating, you can just upload it on a Git and then share the URL with the team members, right? So at least they can just walk through your code as well as like I am sharing it on my Git, right? So it is for all. If anyone is going to create anything, just share it. So Ritik is asking, are we going to learn how to make admin panel? So it means, Ritik, the dashboard is basically like an admin panel for us. So this is like an admin panel for us, right? So I hope you understand, because it is an admin panel. It does not have right now. It does not have the graphs, right? So we are not using a graph right now, but it is like an admin panel, because it is coming after the login. So it means if admin is get logged in, then the dashboard will be shown. It is called admin panel. When it is the normal user is logged in, it is normally called dashboard, right? So it means if the admin options are coming up, so it would become admin dashboard. But in admin dashboard, you need to show those options which is required for the admin, like adding a user, adding a role, adding a write. So I have a separate example for it. I can just show you, right, how to do the role and write mapping. Now the point is, I have installed everything. Now from here, I will type the thing called npm start. So when I done this thing, this application is get started in the scroll. Here it is, right? So if I just search any image here, so it is going to fetch the images, right? So we have done this thing. So it is going to fetch these images, because I hope we have using Giphy, and then some guys is sharing some another URL. So we are consuming that URL also. So I hope everyone understand this point. Now the point is, I want to deploy this application. This is a really important thing. So deployment is really important stuff for everyone, because when you are going for an internship, I hope any of you have done internship in any company. Any of you have done internship? Anyone? Nirosha is done. Okay, those who have done, so just tell me what with me. I'm just sharing what is the expectation when you're going for internships, right? So when you're going for an internship, for example, there's an internship for a React developer, right? So their expectation is what? You must be very good, or you're very familiar with the things, and how they will evaluate you. It means if they are hiring for a React development purpose, they are hiring an intern for a React development. The thing is, they just want to see what all things you have done, right? So you can just showcase your projects. So if you have done any project, so they want just showcase us, right? Now the point is how you can showcase us. So you can showcase everything. You can showcase everything. Just publish your projects on a Git. So Git has two variety. One is you can push your codes, like Satish has done the thing. So Satish is pushing the codes, right? So it means that is for end-to-end developer. But if I want to see the output of Satish application, so the answer is I can deploy it there. Makes sense? So it means if you have a project which is already deployed, if you have a project and that project is already deployed, the best part is if the project is get deployed there, so you can just share the reference of the project. Makes sense? So it would be a easy journey for you, because now they are actually asking the questions based on your projects, because they know this guy has already done the project. So instead of asking what is dumb component, what is state, what is props, what is pure component versus component, what is memo, so they're not asking these kind of questions because they know this guy has already done the project. So why not ask about the projects, right? So you can showcase your projects there, right? And they want, it means whatever you have, because when you're going for an internship, they want you have the skill to develop something. That's why the internships is there, right? Even like Nitesh, can you share your learnings, because you are in a company, you are learning the new things. So can you share, it means what is your expectation, what is your senior expectations? Is your seniors is looking for the certificates or your degree or your percentage, or they want the skills? I mean, at the end of the day, what you need to deliver, if you can share it. Even if anyone is done the internship, so that person can share, right? So like Nitesh is saying, only skill matters, right? So that's why I'm saying the skills is actually matters to all of you. So just because end goal for all of you is what? All of you either want to become an employee or either you want to become an employer. So both of the area need the skilled, right? And if you heard about the thing, when in old time, the rich person is those who have a lot of properties, right? And then there is a time the rich person is who have the factories. Right now, the time for a rich man is who have the knowledge, right? So it means if you have a knowledge, then you have the money at the end, right? So your packages depend on your knowledge stuff. Makes sense. So that's why I'm recommending whatever you are actually build it, just deploy it on a Git and then add it on your resume. So just create your resume either on Naukri, on a Monster, on a LinkedIn. So in a LinkedIn, just keep sharing your projects, right? So Nirosha is saying they will tell us to share our right. So our code written in a GitHub. Right. So that's why they're asking just can you just show us your projects, what you have done on a Git? So they just walk through any source code and then they can ask anything on that source code. So if you're able to answer that source code, so they know you have the experience of building something, right? So there is no theoretical kind of questions right now in the market. That's why I'm saying the skills really matter in the industry, right? So the point is what I am saying right now, it is sooner or later you will understand this point, right? How the industry is demanding, because right now I'm in the industry, I'm providing the training to the employee as well for the students, so I know the gaps, right? So but the point of view in my mind is jobs are plenty more in the market, plenty more internships in the market. The only problem is there are no skilled people are there. That's why they don't want to hire it. Right. Right. So Rahul is also sharing. So that's why if you just walk through with the chat window, they are actually sharing. So it means the intelligent guys who can learn from the others' experience, right? So that's why they share you what they have when they are going for this internship. What is the expectation, right? So now the point is, guys, we have done this first React app. Now we have started. This is working. Now the point is, I want to deploy this application. I want to deploy it. I want to deploy this application over the GitHub. How you will deploy it? You need to run this command npm run build. This is the command, guys. So if you run this command, what will happen? See this. It will happen here. So from here, it will create a folder called build folder, right? So it is creating a build folder, and I'm continuing the answer of Satish. Satish, you want a performance-oriented page. The performance-oriented page need a compress code, right? So your HTML is get compressed, your CSS is get compressed, your JS is get compressed. All the components will be merged in a one place, right? So if you just see this thing, that is here you have this index.html, and inside the static, if we open the static folder, it has the CSS and the JS, and you already know we have done a lot of JS stuff inside it, but it actually merged all the JS, all the CSS into one single file. So if you just walk through it, it actually created a file called main. So there is a file called main. If you just open this file, this is your code. Believe it, This is your code. It means it is on the components. So if you just walk through, this is a component code. So how you can find it out? You can find it out by using this search, right? So whatever the JSX, whatever the components, I have written all of the code in a one single line. So it actually done uglify and minify. Who done this? Webpack. So there is a tool inside in a React that is a Webpack, which is actually creating a build. So it create a build. Same it has done for the CSS itself. So for the JS itself, they have done. For the CSS itself, they have done. Now, if you just see the size of your project, so if you just walk through the size of a project, so that is your project, first React app. So if I just go to the folder, that is my folder location, and I do right click and I do get info, you will see 259 MB is the size of your project, right? But when you do build, because you want to deploy it on some server, so I created a build folder that is today 256. It has created, and I do right click and then I do get info. You will see the size has become what? 541 KB. So your entire application inside this 541 KB. Makes sense. Now you can deploy this application. To deploy this application, you just go to this place and then go to your GitHub account, right? Just go to your GitHub account and here it is. So I just go to this place. I just open a Chrome because on a Chrome I have already logged in from this GitHub account. So I just go here. So from here, just go to your repository section. And from the repository section, I create a new repository, right? So at 11 o'clock, you have done this Git training, right? Through a command line. Now I'm just showing you, you can create here a Git repository. So for example, I'm saying that's a search app, right? So I create a search app. It's a public one. I create a README file and then I do create repository. So it is going to create a blank repository there with having a README file only, right? Now, whatever the code I have from this build folder, I just copy all this code and push it to this Git. Right. So I'm pushing what? I'm pushing that build folder code. That is a deployed code, right? That is ready for the deployment. I hope everyone understands this thing. So it is actually pushing this code. Meanwhile, Nitish is asking, what intro? Advise me in the intro. You should good knowledge, but don't just stuck on the theoretical knowledge, right? That's what all of the companies want, because at the end you are an engineer, and if you are an engineer, for example, if you are an automobile engineer and you are actually building the cars and you have a book, somebody asks how to use this tool and you're saying I have this book, just read this book, and then you're just giving an answer, right? So it would not make sense. So practical stuff is essentially required. Makes sense. So now the point is I commit this code. So I commit this code stuff. It is committing everything. Now we are ready to live our application, right? We are ready to live our application, but the point number one is just go to this place, and from here I will first start my application. So it means I just want to show you, this is my local application, right? This is my local application, which is running on localhost 3000. Makes sense? Now, because I push everything on Git. What I push the codes, right? I push the code. So from here, what I push it here inside the build folder. So Ritik, we uploaded, just drag and drop it. Whatever inside the build folder, I just drag and drop it here, right? So I uploaded because I'm using a GitHub. Makes sense? So once this thing is done, now just go to the thing called, so I just go to the thing called settings, right? This settings. So I just go to the settings. Inside the settings, it is saying this is your search app. Just go scroll. And here is an option called GitHub pages. So now I can live my application, go to the GitHub pages, just choose master branch and just save it. Right. Now, once this thing is done, it generate a URL. So now the important learning going to be start. I click on this. Now it is saying what it is saying, 404. Why it is saying 404? Because by default, the React looking up everything in this 3000 port. It means that the React thing is looking up in this form, localhost, then the port number, that's it. But GitHub is looking in this form. So this localhost has become brain my interest, github.io, and search app is what? It's a alias name. Inside it, it has the page. So it means when you're writing localhost 3000, it is behind the scene, it is doing this thing, index.html, right? So it is actually launching what? It is launching this index.html. By default, it is optional. But the problem is now it is actually looking up index.html here, but it is not able to launch up. Why it is not launch up? Because by default it is just look up on the root directory, but it is now not in the root directory, it is in the search app directory. That is the problem. So when I'm writing it, it is try to opening it. But when it is trying to opening it, now there is another problem, that is how it will look up for the CSS part. I mean this JS part, CSS part, all these things, it never able to look up, because when I click it, it is actually looking up where? It is looking up static JS, right? But my path is what? It's a search app. So it means it has to be go inside the search app. It has to be go inside the search app. Then it is able to open it. I hope everyone understand the problem. The problem is in my local machine, it is always looking up on a server. But GitHub create what? GitHub create an alias name, that is a search app, that is a repository name. Inside it, it placed it. So it would not be a globally available. Now all the path, it is actually looking up where? In that github.io. But it is my application is where? In my search app. So it would not look up default by default there, right? So now the point is how you can solve this problem. Just copy this URL, go to this place. Go to the code place, and from the code place, just go to the first React app and then do new file and create a special file .env, right? That is called environment file. So I create a .env file, and from this env file, I need to specify the environment setting, right? So I need to specify the environment setting. I hope everyone understand I hope everyone understand the problem. What sort of problem we are facing. So to solve this problem, we need to create an environment file. Inside this environment file, I need to specify the environment location, right? So I need to specify the environment location, and inside it, I need to use this environment, that is a search app. I hope everyone understand this thing. So it means this environment file is containing the detail of the server. So it means if you're going to host your application on some server, you need to borrow the URL, which is a public URL. That is called the public URL. You're borrowing it. And this public URL, you need to set it in this file. Make sense, guys? So it means if you're hosting on AWS, you need to specify the public URL of this. So like I have this public URL. Now what I've done, once I done this thing, I do Control-C, clear this thing, and then I will say again npm run, because after creating this, I will do npm run build. So by default, it is looking up where? It is looking up on this folder. But when I'm saying npm run build, so now if you just see, it say I am able to publish it here because it has a URL. So it read the env file, right? So it means when you're creating your application, it will work very, very good in your local machine. But when you're going to launch it or somewhere, and why you're launching it? Because you want to show it to your interviewer, right? What you have done. So when you're launching it on some server always have some alias name, like I have the search app, right? So your application will be go inside the search app. By default, it would be look up everything on a localhost 3000, right? So it would not look up there. So once you've done this thing, just go in a build folder. I'm just going it here, right? And go to your folder place. Make sense? On a GitHub, right? So on a GitHub, in this particular location, just go to the repository section. Inside it, go to again your search app. So I'm on the search app, and from the search app, this is my code, the entire code, and I just copy this code and paste it here. Make sense? So your whole code will be go here. And then I do commit. Now the whole sort of changes will be uploaded here. Now if I try to run my web web application where I'm going to run it on this GitHub. So my application is get published. So it will take some time to publish it, the application. So just go to your search app folder and then press enter. So it will take some time because it is actually uploading everything. Once this all the uploading will be happen perfectly, then it is going to. So I just do right click, guys. I do right click, inspect, and go to the console section. So it is saying right now fail to load. So it means it is now not able to load it right now, all these files. So I'm just keep refreshing it. Right. So now it is get uploaded. Make sense? So now your application is live where? Here. And from here, let's say if I search Iron Man and search now, so it is going to search these images. Make sense, guys? Now this URL, you can add it on your resume. So once you live it, you can just have the you have the URL, and then you can you can share this URL on your resume. So at least you have 4 to 5 applications, right? Have different varieties. So my point of view is whatever the applications today we are going to create, we are going to upload it here, right? So at least you can showcase it. Make sense, guys? I hope everyone understand how you can live your application and what is the use of this env file and what is the use of npm run build. I hope Satish you understand how you can optimize your application when you're launching it somewhere. So Satish has also done this thing, right? So he has also shared his application URL. So parallelly he has done. Right, good. So now the point is we are moving to the next segment, that is our application, whatever the backend stuff we have run, we have loaded there in a backend stuff. So now we are actually connecting with some Mongo, but we are using local Mongo. So we want to use some Mongo which is on a cloud. Ritik asking, so GoDaddy and other services do same thing? Yes, but they are paid. If you just see this URL, right? It is like braidmentorsprivate.github.io. It is not very good, right? So it would be like, let's say, some good URL. So you need to buy the domain. I hope you understand. So you need to buy some domain. So GoDaddy actually selling the domains. That's the first thing, right? So you need to register your domain at the rate of $499. Plus they provide you the machine, and they will charge some money on the machine, right? So it means they have the shared environment. So that shared environment it's nearby 4,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees. For example, you want to develop some reactapp.com, for example, you want to develop. So it is saying somebody already taken this thing and they have the broker service, so they will talk to it, right? So you will say React app dev, right? So you will search this thing. So this thing is available. So 199 is a price. This is the price just for a name, right? This is the price for just for a name. So it means your application will be live on some server. It has some IP address and port number, but this is just a name they have provided. I hope Ritik, you understand this thing. That's just a domain name. And now you need to buy their service to store something, right? So they have something called shared space. So if your website is static on a React, so I am saying just deploy it in a same fashion like I did it, npm build. So you have the build, and then you can place it on their folder. So they will provide you www root. That is the folder name. There you need to place it, right? But if you are building the full stack application, so I'm recommending you need to buy some expensive servers there. So it means if you just go to the GoDaddy has something called hosting and domains and hosting as well as. So hosting we have done, and there is a thing called domains we have done. Hosting here it is. So it is asking on which platform you want to do, right? So for example, I'm recommending, let's say, Linux. So the Linux is the cost of this is basically, it is a shared space, right? It is a shared space. It means on the same server it can have multiple websites. But if you want to run with a Node.js, I'm recommending go for dedicated servers. So dedicated servers are actually basically it provide you your machine. It means that they will provide you your machine. You can install Node.js, you can install Mongo, everything, but the plan is much higher. So you are able to see now it start with this. Make sense? So it is not shared server. So no one is sharing with you. You can install it, your applications there. So the default one plan, which you are already seen there, 200, 300 rupees, that is basically a shared one. There you can run only the PHP. By default, they have the support of PHP, and is not much more for taking care of bigger application, but this is actually taking care of bigger application, right? I hope you understand. And it's a per month cost. It is that's why people actually using AWS. That's why people using AWS. AWS is basically a cheaper one compared to this. Make sense? But again, for domain name, you need to go for GoDaddy. From there, you need to buy a domain, and then you can map your AWS server with a domain. Right. So if you want to use, like we are going to use something free, that is Heroku. That's a free one. So you can use this Heroku, but the problem with Heroku would not provide you any database. So for free database, because you are actually not building for client right now, because otherwise the client will pay everything, right? So that's an infrastructure cost that is taken care by the client. It is not by us, right? So we are like engineers. Engineer build it. So if you are going to build a car, so you are actually building a car. Material is provided by someone else. Same here. This server is providing by the client, right? Client buy this thing, or you will buy it on the behalf of the client. Client will pay you. Makes sense. So now the point is, Heroku is there. That is a free 5 applications you can host it there, right? And as a free account, right? Now for database, because it's not provided with database. So for database, you will use Mongo Atlas. So just go for a Mongo Atlas, and from here you can use it. I hope you understand. So we are using Mongo Atlas. So for right now, if we just check out our current application, we have done the current application. I think on which folder I have done the backend stuff, that is node demos. Web app, sorry, this web app we have done, right? In a web app, if you just go there in a DB, we have the config, right? In config, I have the configuration path of what? I have the configuration path of 27017 to do DB, right? That is what? That is the database which is on my client. I mean, on my machine, right? So if we all of us are working together and we want to share the database, we cannot share the database. So that's why we want to use Atlas. So Atlas is a 500 MB free space. So we are going to use the Atlas. So how you can use the Atlas? Just go there and do sign in with the Google, like I am doing it. And from here, I just do login. So once I do get login with my account, I will just change this URL, right? So I will do login with my account. So it is actually running up my account first of all, because I used it several times. So it will just start it from this place. But if I'm using a first time, it will ask to create a cluster. I have already cluster on a free account. I have only one cluster. So I have already cluster there. But if in your case, because you are login with your first time, so just create a new cluster, right? So you have an option of create a new cluster, but with a one account, you can have only one cluster. So it means one database instance. So you need to choose the cloud provider. It means your cluster, your database would be where, right? So you choose AWS, for example. AWS is much good. So, and here where you want to store it. So for example, on which city you want to store it, right? So let's say Singapore or Mumbai, right? And from here, it is showing you the cluster tier is what. And now I just want to show you one thing. That is, just a minute. I just show you. So at the bottom area, this is. So it is asking 0.51 per hour rate, right? Why they are asking it? They are asking is because I have already a one cluster. But in your case, this thing would not become because you are creating first time. But after first time, you cannot create it. So you need a different account. Make sense? So there are some questions I think is asking, if we create a simple website with the help of HTML and CSS, so the process is same to the launch on server our web. It means when we're doing this simple website without reactive, for example, I'm saying, so you need to just copy your code and just paste it on your GoDaddy space. I mean on a www root. Or if you're using with a React, so I am recommendation is npm run build, right? So it will create a build folder. Inside that build folder, you have everything. Just copy paste it or upload it in www root. Makes sense. But if you're using Our backend stuff, that would not be this kind of way, right? There is a different practice, right? So we will see how we are living on a Heroku. So then there is a 10 to 15 steps we need to follow. I hope, Ritik, you understand. So front end publishment is pretty much easy, but for a backend publishment, we need to do a lot of stuff, right? So we need to deploy it, the entire application. So we will see how we can use the Heroku with a node, right? So meanwhile, Nitesh is saying, what is the best practice? Should we use offline MongoDB or online? It depends. For example, if you're working on some banking application, and suppose bank don't want to publish their customer data on any cloud because they don't rely on the clouds, right? Because anyhow it's banking data, so they build their own infrastructure. So they actually using the local databases, right? So they installed it because they have a plenty of money, so they are capable to buy their own clouds, private clouds, right? So private clouds mean they actually set up on their infrastructure. But if you're creating for some other customer who is not capable to buy their or set up their infrastructure, then the cloud is best practice, right? So most of the time cloud is recommended because the infrastructure cost is pretty much less, right? Shubham is asking, build folders created just to reduce size of the project. No, only not for this, Shubham, because anywhere you're reducing the size, plus the performance of the applications get increased because it is get uglified. Code size is pretty much small, so on the network it would be move faster. Plus all the files in a one place instead of looking up the files in a different components, right? I hope, Shubham, you understand. So the performance and the file size, both of them are get shorter. So Chetan is asking, does GitHub provide database support? No. GitHub is actually just a repositories. I mean, GitHub, if you know the difference between the Git and GitHub, GitHub is basically a graphical user interface of Git. It actually provides to create a repository, but they also provide you to host a static website. Static means which is only working on the client side. It does not have any backend code, right? So React is basically a client-side stuff. So it is actually consuming the APIs which is on the backend. So the APIs, I'm saying the APIs you can host it where? You can host it on a Heroku, but the front side you can host it on a Git. Makes sense? Firebase is best for database and authentication. Firebase is best suited when you don't know the backend. So if you don't know the backend, for example, you start some company by your own self, and your application is only simple CRUD. It means it does not have any backend complex logics. So that moment of time, Firebase is best suited. Simple CRUD is there, and you do not have any backend developer. Then you can opt Firebase, but Firebase is not free. It is a licensed one. So if you are using for commercial purpose, so it will provide you 1 GB of free database, and after this it is chargeable. But you can create your backend from Node and Express and Mongo, right? I hope you understand. So Firebase I usually recommend it for mobile app developer. Usually mobile app developer don't know the backend, right? So that more time. So that's why I am saying you all know backend, and now you know the mobile app development. That's a plus for all of you because market knows very few of them knows the front and backend together, right? But you already done this journey, and if you know this mobile app development along with it, so you are an asset for a company. So Nift is asking, we can publish React website on Git without build also. If we publish it, the problem is we need to install all the libraries. So size is pretty much huge. So it means we need to set up the runtime environment as well. So it would not be get trigger, right? It would not be get trigger automatically. That is the problem. So that's why we are publishing it with a build. So we need to create some mechanism to trigger it. And the triggering means npm start. So Ritik is asking how we have to buy a domain. It's simply, Ritik, it is like an online shopping. Just go there, search for a domain. For example, if I want to create any website, so I have a mindset of my business, right? So because of mindsets, I have a name. So based on name, I just first look up the name on GoDaddy. If the name is no one is by that name, so I can use it, right? So I register a domain, then I buy I buy a hosting. So I need to buy a domain name. Domain name is xyz.com. It's the name of your website. And then I need to do hosting. For a hosting, I need to either use a shared one or either use a dedicated one. So Abhishek is asking, still the company are working on PHP? Yes, of course. PHP is for you can think about the PHP is basically to build very small applications. So it means software can solve every problem. So if your requirement is for the Alto car, why you buy a Fortuner, right? So it's like this. So it means your business is small and it does not have large number of users there, not large number of calculations. So why you opt MERN stack kind of thing? You will use a PHP, right? So again, if you are using an Alto, right? So the point is, you go for a mechanic who is charged like an Alto, right? If you are using a Fortuner, so it means your mechanic charge is high, right? It's like this. So that's why the MERN stack I'm just comparing with this. FB is still using PHP. The problem is because they start the journey with, because when Mark Zuckerberg start writing a Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg know the PHP, right? He is like a student like you, right? So it means he know the PHP. Like if you learn MERN stack and you have a business idea, you would not wait to learn any new language. You just launch your idea, right? First of all, you need to launch an idea. So they launch it. But right now, Facebook is not only on the PHP. They are right now hybrid. They are using Backbone JS. They moved to the React JS. They built it the React JS. They're using a React Native thing. Yeah, they are using ECMA features. They are using PHP. They are using plenty of things right now. It is not only they are using a PHP. So one of the thing is there is a PHP, right? Because they started with a PHP. So if you start any project for a company and you spend 2 years or 3 years in a technology, you actually marry with the technology, right? So you cannot change it, right? So it means if new things are coming up in the market, so you can actually building the new things. You can integrate the new things with the new technologies, but the old thing which is stable now, so you don't want to disturb that stable thing. That's why. I hope you understand this. Right. But if in point of view of latest trend in technology, these are the latest one which you are actually right now learning for a web development perspective. Makes sense. I hope cluster everyone understand, and why it is charging, because I have already created cluster already. So if you have the cluster, if you create a cluster, first time it would not say this thing, right? Once you have the cluster, like I have the cluster, I just move to my cluster. So once I have this cluster, I just show you some configurations of my cluster. So I just go to this cluster and it asks for some of the cluster configurations. The configurations like database access. So I provided database access. So I create a user ID Amit and password is Amit, right? So I created this network access they are asking. So I allow everyone, right? So it has the network access. So I allow every IP. So if I want to restrict it, so I can just delete it and I specify some IP address. Makes sense? So if I want to use this thing, I mean, if I want to use this cluster, so let's say I just move back to my project and I want to use this thing, right? So this is my one cluster that is on the free version, 500 MB for a one cluster. So I can click on a connect. So when I click on a connect, so it will ask how you want to connect. So for example, I want to connect with a Mongo. So for Mongo, it is asking which OS you are using, right? And it is recommending how you can install it, right? So it is saying I do not have the Mongo, I have the Mongo, so I just click on a Mongo. So it is asking on which version you are right now in your machine. So I just go to my terminal, and this is what I am not going to start any server, guys. You already know MongoD command. You are starting a server. Right now I'm not starting any Mongo server, so I am just checking what is the version of my Mongo. So here it is saying you have the version called 4.0.9. That's a version, and from here, because it's a version of 4.0.9, so I just go and choose 4.0. So 4.0, I just copy this thing, and from here I just paste this thing. What does it mean? It means I'm just triggering my client. I'm triggering my client, and I am talking to some database. So what sort of applications we are going to create? We are going to create to-do app. So I just create to-do app here. Now it is get connected. It is asking for a password which I registered there. That is Amit. So it is now tried to connect it. So the server is running where? It is on cloud. And this is what? That's a client. Makes sense? I hope everyone understand. There's a Mongo command. I typed it here. And now it is trying to connect it, right? So it is connected now. Now I am saying show DBS. So it is actually showing what? It is showing that database is available on the cloud. So I will create a new fresh database to do app. So this database is get created. Make sense? So from here, I just want to show which is now activity database, that is to do app. Now, if I want to create any collection inside it, so I will write db dot create collection, and I will say customers, and let's say in this customers, I will say this thing. So customers collection is get created. And if I want to see is this correctly created, so I hope everyone understand this thing. That is, I am operating what I'm operating cloud right now, and here I'm just showing you this is my database is get created. Make sense? Now, if I want to connect my application with this database which is on the cloud, so I have the option. So I just go back, and it is asking connect with your application. So if you want to connect with your application, just copy this URL. So it is asking which version. So I have more than 3.6 version. So I just copy this URL, and from our code place. So if we just go to our code area, so we have this local URL, local database URL. Now I want to connect it with my database with this. So this is the URL they have provided. So I'm writing it here db URL, and from here in this double quotes I just paste it. Makes sense, guys? So it is asking for what? It is asking for the database name. So the database name is to do app I have created. So just go there, and from here I will say it is asking for the password as well as. So I'm saying Amit, and the database name is, this is my database name. Now it is now going to connect to whom? It is going to connect to my database, cloud-based database. Makes sense? Now, if it is going to connect with my cloud-based database, so I will just start my application, which we have created. Now, previously it is connected with a local DB. Now it is connected with a cloud DB. I hope everyone understand this thing. So my shell is connected with a cloud. So I am accessing what? Cloud database. And now my application is also connected with a cloud database. So the best part is we will actually we are publishing our application on Heroku, right? We are publishing our application on Heroku, and that Heroku is talking to whom? It is talking to the Atlas, right? Makes sense? Because we are using a free version of Heroku. Heroku would not provide you any database thing. Jatin is asking what is pool size. Jatin, the pool size is basically if your application is hosted on, let's say, on a Heroku, and let's say 50 users are going to connect with your database with your application. So you actually specify the pool size. So it means you are saying 10 concurrent connections I can handle. So out of 50 users, it is if the 50 users are not concurrent, right? 50 concurrent means all of them are coming on the same time. So if I assume the 10 users are concurrent, so I will specify the pool size 10. So it will open a 10 database connections to serve 10 users. I hope you understand this thing, why this pool size is required. So the pool size is actually dependent on how many users are concurrently accessing your database. It means if your application has a lot of load, so you need to serve so much data to your users. So you need 10 connections open or 20 connections open or 30 connections open. It entirely depends on how many of them are concurrent. I hope you understand this thing. To identify how many users are concurrently there in your application, you need to use some performance monitoring tool. So through performance monitoring tool, you can put a load on your application, then you can figure it out how much pool size you have required, right? So that's why I specify the pool size 10. And this pool size, I use it where? I use it in my database file. So I just go here, and from the connection.js, if you just see, I have the pool size, I have the DB URL. Makes sense? Now the point is, guys, my application has the routes. So in this routes, we have something called login feature. This one is a login feature, and we have also something called registration feature. For example, I want to test both of them. Is both of them are working correctly or not? So we can test it by a tool called Postman. So just go to a Postman, right? So I just go to the Postman tool, and from the Postman, I trigger the registration, I trigger the login. Now this login and registration has to be on a cloud, right? So just go here. So I just go here on this place, and this is React register. And first thing first, I need to run my application. My application is cd.cd web app, right? So this is my application name, And from here, I need to type npm start, so it will trigger the nodemon behind the scene, and it has created the connection. So the connection is get created. Now I want to test my application, right? So I want to test my application. So my application is running on the 1234 slash, and I need to specify I want to do first registration of the user. Right now I do not have the user, right? Because if you just check this out from here, if you just check this out, show collections, you have only one collections in your hand, right? Now I want to create a users collection. How this collections will be get created? So if we just see this thing, I am calling React register. React register is calling CRUD, right? So it is going to call this CRUD, and CRUD is going to call add. Add is going to call something called user model.create, and user model.create is sorry, user model. I just walk through there. Just a minute. So user CRUD here, and this is going to create user model, right? So user model is what? User model is actually the user one, right? So I just go to this user model. From the user model, I have user ID and a password. So these information has been written where? In the users, right? So in a users collection, I have the user ID and I have the password. These two things will be get written there automatically. If I trigger this React register and I just go to the post, because it's a post request, how I know it. So this is the first bottom line. Whenever you are creating a backend, you need to create this thing, right? And React register. So it means I am just setting up all the backend thing. Then I will setting up the front end thing. Both of them will be get connected. Then we are moving to the dashboard, email generation. So many things we are going to learn. So React register, I am here, and in a body section, I will say user ID Mike. I am saying, and the password. Password is PWD, right? So I will say PWD. And I will say Mike123, right? And I click on the send. So it will say registered successfully. It means it is sending what? It is sending the JSON. So if this thing is working absolutely fine, so it means it's time to check on a database side. So from the database side, I just do show collections. You're able to see on a cloud, it is going to create a users. So if I check db.users.find.pretty, it is showing everything. I hope everyone understands this thing. So it means this is happen where? It is happen on the cloud. So you can verify this thing just on your cloud. So you are connected with this thing, right? So you are connected with your database get connected, and you have choose these three methods. Plus, as well as it is going to show you, it is also going to show you somewhere. I just click on this cluster. And from the cluster, it will show collections, right? Because it's a collections. And from the collections, it is retrieving the collection. And if you just see, there is a customer collection, which is empty, and it has a users collection. Inside the users collection, it will show you. So this is the record it is showing you. And where it is showing you, it is showing on a Mongo cloud. Makes sense. So now our application is connected with what? It is connected with the Mongo cloud. I hope everyone understands this thing. So this is how our application is connect with the Mongo cloud. Any doubts, guys, in your mind? So please raise your doubts. I hope everyone understand the point of view. So this is what when you are actually putting up your application on a live environment. So it is what I am showing you, how your application is on your live environment. So right now our application database is live, right? Our database is live. So it means at least you with your friends, you can work, all of you work together with the same database, right? But your application right now is not live. Your code can be live on a Git. It means you can push your code on a Git because you already attend the Git class. But you cannot live your code right now, because for this we need to learn the Heroku. Make sense? I hope everyone understand. What we have covered how to deploy front end on a Git. That's again a cloud, and we have done with a database as a cloud. So this is what we have done so far. Now the point is, guys. Now the point is, we are moving to the next thing. That is, what else we need to add in our application. So just go to your front end side, right? In this front end layer, right? So I am just starting the front end layer server as well as and that front end layer will be talking to the backend layer. So Deepam is asking, is it recommended to store atlas connection string directly in config file? Yes, you need to store it somewhere, right? Because this config file, either because this config file is just a JS file. Anyway, when you are launching your application on some server, you have the config file will be get moved on your server, right? So it means if on your server side, if you are going to do some any changes, so you will change it on the config.js. For example, your server user ID password is get changed, or some IP addresses get changed, right? Or database name is get changed. So you will just make a changes in the config file, right? So that's why you need this config file. So the bottom line is if you compare with the Java or C# kind of technologies, your code is get compiled and compiled into some native, I mean, in class file or some low level file. That moment of time you cannot change this, but your JS code anyway will go on a server on the same way. So if it is, again, it is minified, but the string is same, so you can change it. I hope you understand. That's why we need not to read from any property files. Right. So now the point is, if your database is get connected, now we are going to connect with a front end layer. So your front end layer will be get connected, and that front end layer will be talk to the same backend. So just click on this plus sign and go to the CD, and we have the front end layer, this one, and I just starting this npm start. So it is going to start the front end layer. So Ritik is asking how hack our database. It depends upon cloud services. It means you are asking about how the hackers hack your databases. So hackers actually have their so what is the question? How hack our database?
सर एक्चुअली मैं आस्किंग जो हमारा डेटाबेस है वो कैसे हैक हो जाता है?
This is what I'm saying also. If your database is hacked, now it is not primarily hacked with. It means they are not going directly jump to the cloud services, because cloud services are pretty much secure, right? So they are actually hacking your application in a different style. If you heard about that is called. There is a one point that is cross-site request forgery. If you heard about this thing, if you all of you heard about this thing, that is CSRF, or if you heard about OSWAP top 10, right? So it means as a developer, you need to follow these set of rules, right? So if how they are hacking it, they are actually hacking through your application, right? Either they are doing some SQL injections, if you heard about the term called SQL injection, or they are using this cross-site request forgery kind of stuff. So they're trying to do this in this way, because direct database hack is a different story, because you need to hack first of all the cloud services, then you are able to reach to this, right? So they are actually trying to do different ways. Either they go for a cross-site request forgery, you know about it. People are sending the emails of the banks, and when you click on that, they will hack the session of yours. It means if you are logged in there that moment of time, so they will hack it through this cross-site request forgery, or they are using some SQL injection, so they just try the permutation of parameters. If that is get allowed, so they will act it, right? Yep. So Nirosha is saying using surf suit. Yep. So it means there are plenty of npm modules there. So if you like you're using some cross-site thing, so there is something called npm csurf. So there is a module if you don't want cross sites. So if you want to protect this cross-site forgering, so you can protect it by using this npm install. So it means every time it will generate a new token. So it will generate a new token every time, so it would not be get hacked, right? So the point is, as a developer, you need to take care of it. the things. For example, if you are sending the data, your data would be get encrypted either through HTTPS layer or either use CSRF layer. Protect the SQL injection if you're using any database. I mean, if you're using some relational databases, so your query would not inject any SQL injection dependencies. So these kind of precautions as a developer you need to take care. That through this your application would not be get hacked. I hope you understand this thing. So the point is, first focus is to build an application. So we are building the application. We are here, and from where is the URL? So this is the URL, and we are going to create an account. And from the account, let's say I create Tim and 123, and I do register. So it will say register successfully. So it means bottom line is it is actually registered where? It is registered in the cloud, right? So it means on the cloud side. Whereas it is so just one guys. I'm just picking the question. I just want to show you the cloud where I open. Here it is, right? So if I just refresh it, so it means I right now insert a new record. So that record from React, it will be get inserted in the database. So if you just go here, you are able to see that Tim is get inserted here with a password. Great. Chetan is asking what is the other things you told. That is a SQL injection I told you. That is every time on each request you need to generate the tokens, and there is a npm module called CSRF which is actually recommended for generating a new token every time. So it would not be get hacked because hacker already know when you logged in it, the token is generated on the server. So they are actually hacking a token, right? So if every request is going to generate a token, so they are using this kind of module, right? Plus HTTPS, it means if we run our application on HTTPS, for HTTPS you need a certificate. So like GoDaddy is providing HTTPS certificates. So if your application is on HTTPS, it is using secure routes there, right? If your application does not have prevention of SQL injection, so your database would not be have any injection of SQLs, right? Plus I am recommending follow this OWASP top 10. So it means they have the top 10 rules every time. So they are updating these rules. So follow these rules, and based on these rules, follow the modules which is provided by the NPM, right? I hope guys, everyone understand this point of view, and everyone understand our application is working now. And if we just logged in it here, for example, if we just go here and we logged in here, right? For example, I go in here and I'm saying Tim and 1, 2, 3, and I'm logging here. So we need to move to some dashboard, right? It means like an admin panel, right? We need to move to some dashboard. To move to some dashboard, so there are plenty of things we need to take care. If the user is get registered, we need to send a mail to a user. Congratulations, you are registered, right? And plus we need once a user is get logged in, we need to generate a token. So it means if user is registered, then it is able to see the dashboard page. So for the dashboard page, I just close web app and I just go to the front end layer, and from the front end layer, I will create a container and I just name this container as a dashboard. So why I'm saying it's a container, because it can have plenty of components inside it. So I will say from here, I will say export class, and even I just want to convey one more thing is if you're using the class components or you are using some functional components, so my recommendation is you can install a tool called React Snippets. So it means it will actually give you some shortcut keys. You can use some shortcut keys to build the components in a faster manner. So the pain area is if you're using that tool, that is a React Snippet. So React Snippet will help you to generate the class or a functional based component in a very, very fast manner. So you can use this React Snippet tool, which is actually responsible to generate. So it is responsible. I need to just check this out. Where are all the shortcuts? React Snippet in this one, Nicholas, right? So if we just go this place, there is a React snippet, and there are some shortcuts they have shared, right? So these are some shortcuts, right? Like RFC. So create React functional component. So for example, if you want to create a class-based component, so there is something called RCC, right? So for example, if I use RCC and then I do tab, so this is the magic. So this actually done this basic stuff. I hope you understand, guys. So I install this tool that is called React Snippet here, and it is Nicholas build this thing, and it has some shortcuts, right? Makes sense? I hope you all of you understand this thing. So it will make your life easy instead of remembering the components. But my recommendation is, because if you are a beginner, so this thing is not recommended at all, because otherwise you forget the syntax. Make sense? And what is this component, did mount, did update? These are the lifecycle methods. So I'm right now, because we have not covered these things, right? Lifecycles. So we are here, and from here it is going to show the dashboard. So I'm saying H1, and here I will say dashboard page. So this would be get available once we are logged in correctly. Make sense? I hope everyone understand this thing. So now the point is how this dashboard will be shown. To show this dashboard, because we have done this app.js and app is calling this to do. To do is calling something called this login stuff, right? So it is calling this login stuff. So either this login will be appear, or either a register will be appear. If the login is successful, if the login is get successful, then it show the dashboard, right? So I want to show the dashboard. That is the important point, guys. So I want to say show dashboard. So this is what I want. So show dashboard, I have the function. So in login component, I will pass this function. So in a login, this is my login one. So when I click on this login, it is going to load this login thing, right? So we have this JSX, so it is going to load this login. So when it is loading the login, so I will say is success. It means, is it the successful login? So based on this, it is successful or not, I will say this dot show dashboard dot bind this, right? So I am calling this thing, right? So this will be get called, and I am passing here. I am passing what I am passing is success. If it is success, so it will go in this login. In this login, it will go here, and it is coming in this props. And if this thing is get successful, right? If it is successful, so from here, if it is successful login, so now the question start, how I can identify this is successful. So to identify this is a successful login, I just say if in a very easy manner, either I can pass some success code from the backend, or either I use data and data dot message and data dot message is equals to if my data dot message is equals to with some value. So if in successful case, it will give register successfully, right? So it means it will give successfully, right? So I will say success, right, instead of this. And I'm saying this includes, it means the message must includes this thing, right? So if it includes success, so it means it is correct. So how I determine this thing? This is I determine by using this register. So it is saying successfully, right? So I will pick this message. So if the message contain the word called successfully, so it means the success result will become. If the success result will become, so because the point to be noted, guys, because I am here in to do, and I am passing what I am passing this dot show dashboard, and I'm binding with it. So this thing will be go inside this is success, and this thing will be go inside something called props. And because it is going inside the props and the message is successful, so I will say this dot props dot is success. That is the method. And from here, I will say true. So it means this thing is get pass. Else, if it is not, so I will say this dot props dot is successful. false. So I'm passing false. So it means it is actually triggering what? This is actually triggering the parent component. Makes sense? So what is saying class property must be method. I think this is correct. This is correct. Okay. So now the point is from here, from to do thing, I am passing is success. From is success, it is calling show dashboard. Show dashboard contain some result, right? So whatever the boolean result will become. So this dot set state contains some boolean result. So if the boolean result is coming up, so I'm doing this dot set state and I am saying the whatever the old state, just copy the old state. So this dot state will copy the old state, right? So it will copy the old state plus it will add a new state. New state says, so I will say result colon result. So it means whatever the result will become, right? So if the result is coming up, and I'm just showing this thing. If in the render, if the result is coming as a true, so I will say return, and in this return I will call the dashboard. So the dashboard page will be get appear. I hope everyone understand this thing. So the dashboard page will be appear. So here it is our dashboard, right? And it is export class. So I will write export default class, right? Because it is imported by default, right? So from here, I hope everyone understand this point. So from login, because in login we are here, login is responsible to check it. When it is check it, so it is passing the is success value to the parent, and parent is what to do. So to do contain this method that is show dashboard. So it is calling this set state, and you already know when the set state is called, it is calling a render. In a render, I am saying this thing. So from here, I am saying if it has a result, so return a dashboard, right? If it is true, if it is not, so then do the rest of the stuff which you are doing. So let's try this thing. So it is saying failed to compile in to do. The result is not defined. It is saying, okay, where it is saying result is not defined. Okay, it is here. So from it must be like this dot state, right? This dot state dot result, right? So let's check this out. Login.js is saying some bracket is missing. So login.js line number 24, it is saying. Okay, I know the error line number 24. The error is because I put it this and I'm not close this if condition, right? I hope everyone understand, guys, this thing. So now it's time to check, is this login and dashboard is coming perfectly or not? So from here, I am here in this side. Go to the login. From login, I am typing here. We have Tim and we have the password 123. Login it here. So it is saying welcome, but welcome. And why it is not vanishing this thing? It must be vanish it from here, right? So how we find out it is going to vanish this thing? How we find out? We find out, okay. We find out from the login. From the login point of view, it is going to call is success. From here, is success would be called from here, right? It is going to be called from here. So I'm saying console.log state update comma result, right? And if it is go in, if this dot state, it must be updated. Makes sense. So just here, go here, Tim 123 login. It is showing it here. Right click, inspect. Go to the console section. State update, but it is coming false. That is the problem. Why it is coming false? Why it is coming false? That is the problem, guys. It must be true. How we find out? We just go to the login.js, and from the login.js, if data is there, data.message there, and data dot oops, That is the problem, I think. The data.message there. So it is going to call success, otherwise it would not. So how I can find it out? Console.log with true call. And console.log with false call. So we are at least we identify where it is, right? So just do login, right? So it is just giving a warning. We ignore it right now. 1, 2, 3. Login state update with false call. It is saying state update, but with a false call. But why? So how we identify why? The answer is response. So response is message. Okay, message.
Welcome team आने लग रहा है ना कि successful.
Okay, because I think we are here ना. We need to, okay.
Register करने पे आता है वो message. Register successfully.
So welcome is actually the word, right? Word is the welcome. We have used a login successfully, I think. Register successfully, and I think it's a login successfully. That's why. So it's a welcome. I need to check. That is a problem. So the code wise, no issues, but it is the issue is in the message, right? So now it is at least now it is moved to somewhere, and where it's trying to move. So it is right now in the dashboard, and from here it is asking dashboard.11 number. It is giving the error. So now it means it is completely moved to the dashboard, and it is correct, and it has a div. Okay, now it is going to print the props. So it is the error is here because it's a this dot props. So now we are moving to this place. Go back, login, and Tim, and 1, 2, 3, and login. What else? So just a minute, guys. The above error occurred in the dashboard component purchase number, and uncaught cannot property bind of undefined. Okay. I think guys, I think I have two dashboards. I think so. There is a problem. This one and this one also makes sense. So I have two dashboard files. That's why it is giving. That's why I'm asking why this dot handle. It is giving the error. Makes sense. So we have, because I think in an earlier class we have tried this dashboard.egs, and plus we have this dashboard.egs. Makes sense. So we have two different dashboards. So what I will do, I just copy this thing. We are going to use this one, right? So I just paste this one. This one we have not required. So I just delete this one. So move to the trash and go to this to do. And from here, I will say this would be ./dashboard, right? So it is actually we have two dashboard we have maintained, because I think in a previous class I maintained it. So just do Tim 1, 2, 3 logged in. Here it is. So right, that's right. So in a code there is no bug. Actually the bug is I use a wrong message successfully. It's a welcome, and plus I use a different dashboard.js. We are on a different one, right? So we are on this dashboard page. Makes sense? I hope everyone understand this thing. So login we have done, registration we have done, cloud connectivity we have done with a Mongo Atlas, how to deploy the application with a React we have done. Now tomorrow is a really important day, because we are actually going to spend 4 hours completely in the code. So it means we are going to handle this token handling, mail stuff, how to generate the mails, how to generate the OTP numbers, auto generated, right? So a lot of stuff we are going to cover up, how to deploy the application on cloud. So these stuff we are going to. So it means tomorrow we are going to build this application. So it's a really important class to all of you, and we are integrate application and then deploy it on some cloud. So you can showcase this application. So guys, if you have any questions so far, so please raise your questions, because I'm going to wind up for today, and from tomorrow we are going to complete this application. So it means add option, delete option, search option, these things we are going to build along with the some utilities. So we have in half an hour for the doubt session. So if you have any doubt, so you can keep raising your questions. Meanwhile, I'm uploading the code. So any questions? So please raise. So this entire code, I'm shifting it here on a Git. So whatever the changes I did, so this one, this one, front end layer, and the web app layer, both of the changes. So PR1, this is also I'm pasting it. So I remove the node one. I just give you a brief overview of this, that is Redux, because Redux is somehow is required for a state management thing. So if you want to manage the state, then the Redux comes in the picture, right? So it is hugely required when your application is actually having a lot of component and the components are nested enough, and they want to interact with each other. They want to share the data with each other. So instead of sharing the data between the component, you can keep the data in a centralized place. So from there, the Redux will become in the picture. But because it's just a kickstart course, so we will done all the kickstart stuff to a lot of the things it has. Believe me, when I am training, I am providing the training for the JavaScript. It will, I will take around 1 month for a JavaScript as well as. Right. So the point is only because we have the flavor. That's why I'm not covering the Redux. I cover the React node, everything. But the point is, if you want to do any common state management for an entire application, the Redux will become in the picture. And Redux is very, very essential with the React. Right. So, for example, you are asking about the Next.js, because there is a Next.js and there is some Nest.js. So which you are looking for? So Nitish, are you going to use the React routers, because dashboard would not be work with the React routers. So we need to use the React routers. So React router we are covering with the project, along with the project. So Nest, right? So Nest is basically a framework like Express. So if you want to build any server-side application, so you can use Nest, right? So through this Nest you can create. So it is primarily more like your Express, right? So if you're using, if you want to build any server-side application, so you have a choice, either you use an Express or either you're using a Nest, right? But there is another thing called Next.js. So Next is entirely used when you want to create a server-side rendering also. Then there is an option of Next.js, and Nest is for it integrate with your Node.js stuff, right? So through Node.js stuff you can integrate it, and then you can build an applications which is highly scalable applications, like we are doing with an Express, right? So you have a choice, either you can go for Express or either you can go for an Nest.js. So Satish is saying I am using Next.js. You are using. So Next is something which can integrate with the React, and it is for server-side rendering purpose, right? I hope I answered your question about the Next and about the Redux thing. So I am just ignoring these files. So I just sharing these files to all of you. So node modules, I am deleting it. So you can do the npm install. and I'm uploading it here. Any other question, guys? So meanwhile, I'm uploading it. So Vikas is sharing some error. I just open it. So Vikas, can you just show the screenshot of search list.js? Because error is in line number 9 on the search list. So guys, I uploaded the code. So you all of you can access it from there. So for free hosting, I'm saying Heroku is there. From Heroku, you can host any Python or Node, Java, any kind of application you can host, or even you can use AWS. So if you keep contributing on GitHub, so for students, AWS provide you 1 year access. So you can host any kind of application there, because actually it provide a machine. Just see your in a music app, your error is coming search list line number 9.